Now next, let's look at how to implement the hero section. In the hero section that we can see right here, it will be having a background. In the foreground, there will be a AirPods Pro image as well. This particular hero section can be achieved by placing this particular image on top of the background. And not just that, in the demo that I have shown you earlier, we are able to have this particular little animation. When you can see, when I just refresh the page, you're able to find this particular image will be animated when the page loads. So this basically is a part of another new plugin that we can actually make use of, which is called Framer Motion. So in which we are able to make use of it to achieve this particular animation right here. So let's get started. In our code right here, we are able to have the nav bar to be placed at the first component. Now let's actually create another new component. All you do just need to go to this particular components folder, create a new file called hero.tsx, and inside here, in which I like to have the boilerplate RAFCE, and just need to click enter. You're able to have this particular boilerplate code for functional component. And of course, I like to import this to the main page. So all I just need to go to this particular index.ts file first. I need to import it here first. And I would just like to change the name to hero, just like this. And of course, I need to export it right here. And this will be able to accessible from the main page.tsx file. All you have to do is just need to go to the right below the nav bar called hero, and just need to have this particular hero section to be imported right here. Of course, you need to be having this particular import for hero section as well. Just need to update it right inside here. As you can see, your hero section will be called here, and in our browser you are able to find the hero section will be placed right here, which is right below the nav bar. And there you go. Now we have already have this particular hero section to be placed right here. And of course, let's just remove this particular unused hello world code, and we can just go to hero section directly. And in our hero section right here, we can actually create that particular section first. So in this case, I like to first of all, I like to go create the outermost div right here. And the outermost div, I like to place the class name, the styling properties for this particular section, where there should be an image as the background, and there should be another image on the foreground. So in this case, I like to make use of display equals to flex. So that way we are able to achieve that. So in this case, first of all, I like to add class name. And in this particular class name, I like to have width equals to full, and also height. And in this case, I like to have height of 600 pixels. And like I've said earlier, I like to have flex, display equals to flex. So in this case, I can just say flex. And besides that, I can also happen to have container. So container is where I can actually place things within a maximum width. And in this case, I can just like make another new div right inside this particular div. And this particular container div right here, of course, I like to add a class name again. And here I like to have the width and the height as well. So first of all, I like to give height, and in this case the height is going to be full. And besides that, I like to give width, but in this case I like to have like a maximum width, so it's going to be max width of 1024 pixels. Like this, we'll need to be also be heading for mobile size screens. So in this case, I like to have like another maximum width. So in this case, I like to have maximum width of 600 pixels. And this will be coming for whatever that is not medium size screens and above. And the first one that we did here is meant for MD, so we need to place MD like this. And yeah, this will automatically will be having for only for medium size screens, and this will be for mobile size screens. And besides that, I would also like to have margin auto, and this will make sure that this particular container is being placed in the center. So we can just say m-auto. And next, we can actually start placing that particular image that we've seen just now, the background image. So we need to be having the first div right here. And this div is specifically for the background image. So in this case, I have to add class name. So in this case, since it's a background, I can just add directly an image. So in this case, first of all, I must be adding like the fill type of this particular image. So in this case, I like to have object cover. And let's actually add that particular image that we have seen earlier. Now we can just copy this particular image from the Figma file and we can just export it like this. As you can see right here, we're able to export this particular airports image right here. And what I've done right here, I've already imported both of this particular image file in our VS Code. And as you can see right here in our public file, you're able to have this particular hero airports.png and also hero banner.png. And we can just directly import it into our file. And before that, we also need to be creating an index file so that we're able to easily import any of these files coming from public. So in this case, I have to add another new file. And in this case, I have to have index.ts file. And inside this file, I like to import both of this image. And then we can just like export it like how we usually do. And yeah, we can just do it for both of the image. So as you can see, this is the first image, and we can just do it for the second image as well. And in this case, I can just change the name from airports to banner, something like this. And of course, it need to be exported as well. Just place it right here. And now we can go to our hero section. And here we are able to import that particular image that we have actually placed in our public file directly here. And of course, we need to be calling the built-in Next.js image component. And what we do, just need to be having the image to be called like this. And yeah, as you can see right here, you just need to be selecting this particular next/image. By the way, you're able to have it on the top right here. And this should be having its required props. And those props are actually, first of all, it's going to be the source, so src, and just to be calling hero banner, because banner is what we are supposed to be placed at the background. So in this case, I have hero banner. Just select the second option, and you're able to find hero banner is actually automatically opened right here. And besides source, we also need to be having the height and the width. In this case, I have height, and this height is going to be around like 100. And also we need to be having width. Here the width is going to be around like 1400. And of course, we also need to be having alt just to fulfill this particular props. And let's not forget, the second one should be width. And alt should, you can just name it anything that you like. In this case, let's have banner, something like this. And let's actually refresh the page and let's check the progress in the browser. And there you go. You're able to find this particular background is actually being placed right here. And the problem is that I think, as you can see right here, this particular image is actually placed way close to the top navbar. So we can just make it so that you can actually come to the center, a bit to this particular center right here. So all you have to do is just need to go back to our code right here. So as you can see right after we have added flex, I like to add items center. And besides that, inside our container as well, we can actually add flex as well. So in this case, I'm going to add flex, and it's going to be justify content, justify center, which will center the content, and also items center. Yeah, and this will center this particular content middle of your section like this. And next thing is that we are able to add the second image. So second image should be placed on top of the first image, basically the background. So right after this particular class right here, the div right here, we can actually place another image. So in this case, I like to have like a div, and inside this div, I like to have a class name. And this class name, I need to place the position of this particular image to be absolute, so that we are able to place this particular image on top of another image, so that will not actually bother. So in order to achieve that, we need to be having the parent div to be having position equals to relative, so that we are able to place this second image on top of the first image. So in this case, I like to have relative at the most last part right here. So just by having relative, we can actually have the relative position equals to relative properties. And besides that, inside this particular second image right here, we need to be having absolute, and that will eventually make the image to be placed on top of first image. And let's actually call the second image as well. In this case, I will have the image to be placed like this, the image component, and of course we need to be having the closing tag as well. And of course we need to be having all this particular props that we have tipped earlier. So just try to copy this, I like to paste it right here. Now all you have to do, just need to be changing the hero banner to hero airports, and also change the height and the width. And in this case, I like to have, of course, I need to be importing arrow airports first. And of course, I like to reduce the width to 700, something like this. And right here is going to be called airports. And actually, let's check our browser. And there you go. This particular image, as you can see right here, this particular airports is not actually placed like how in the design it's supposed to be placed like this. So we should make the background to be placed a bit to the top and the foreground to be placed a bit to the bottom right here. And that will eventually make exactly like how the design is. Now let's actually make this particular airports to be placed a bit to the bottom. So in this case, let's go to that particular code which says which is meant for this particular airports, and in this case I like to have like a margin top styling properties in which I like to add margin top, and this margin top I like to have around like 100 pixels. Let's just give it a try. Let's see where this particular image should go, and there you go. It just goes to a bit to the bottom. We can just add this particular 100 pixels to all the way up to 200 pixels, and that will eventually give some more space like this. And we can also reduce the height of the entire section, because we can see inside the design right here there's no much space given, so we can actually reduce the height. So this case I like to have around like 450 should do. So let's like change 600 to around like 450. That will eventually reduce the height, the gap right here, just like this. And of course we can actually also add more padding top. Instead of just 200, we can just give around like 250, and which will eventually make more like the design right here, and that will eventually make it more like the design like this. And I guess it should be 300 should be the best one, I guess, because if you give 300 you should be having some spacing at here right here. So when we refresh the page, you'll be able to have some spacing like this. And there you go. And not just that, let's check now. Let's actually add framer motion. So framer motion is something that I've actually introduced to you earlier. So all you do, just need to go to a browser, then just look for framer motion, and just need to be going to this particular framer for developers. And of course this is where you're able to have your framers, because this particular simple animation is meant for giving more interactive animations. So this will eventually elevate your user experience. So first of all, I like to have like a, you can just go to introduction right here, click on this, and you're able to go just need to look for installation. And as you can see right here, we're able to install npm install framer motion. Just need to copy this and just need to be going to our VS Code. Just need to run this particular npm install file. Just run this. Okay, this will be eventually installing the entire packages for framer motion. And besides that, we need to be including this particular import motion from framer motion, so we need to copy this as well. And all we do just need to be going to our hero file right here and need to be placing it right at the top right here. And this will eventually call the framer motion that's being installed as one of our dependency. And besides that, we can also make use of the framer of the animation that we have seen earlier just by having this particular component called motion. And of course, to be specific, you need to be using motion.div. So I've actually gone through on how to actually make use of a simple animation that I've actually shown you guys earlier. I just like to directly make use of it instead of actually going through all this particular documentation of how to make use of it. But I'll just make it simpler for you guys to have a quick start, and then you can actually learn by yourself as well. So in our hero file right here, we need to make sure to wrap the image or component that we would like to give animation to with that particular motion.div component. So first of all, I like to go to this particular image right here, and of course I like to call the motion.div component. And there you go. And this will eventually have, and this will be the one that will be given the animation. So we need to place this particular image, which is the airports itself. Take this and I like to place it inside this particular motion.div component. And inside this particular motion.div component is where I can place the props for the value of the animation, from which direction it should appear and on which direction it should be hidden initially. And those are things that I've actually learned from the documentation from the website I've given you earlier. So I'm just going to be making use of it directly into here. So the first prop is going to be called initial. So initial is going to be, it's like the initial state. So in this case, my initial state of the particular image should be hidden. And the second prop is going to be called animate, and animate should be visible. And the third prop I like to give is called variance. So this particular variant is where we can actually place the position of our image before and after when the page loads. So first of all, I'd like to make this particular value of the particular variance to be a separate object. So that particular object is going to be called variance as well. And this particular variance, actually I need to be initializing the value right at the top right here. So this case I like to have constant variance, and this is going to be an object. And of course this particular object is where I like to have, there'll be two props again. So in this case, first of all, it's going to be hidden. So this particular hidden is where I like to place position of the particular image when it's hidden. So first of all, I like to have like an object. So in this particular object, it's like, and I can place the x-axis, basically the x position, to be 0, and the y position should be around like 70 should do. And of course there should also be opacity. So opacity is like how much it should be shown. So in this case, I like to have opacity, and I have to give around like 0.25. And also there should be another props. This case is going to be called visible. So inside here also we'll be having all these three props as well. So I have to copy all of this, and of course I'll be just replacing the y-axis right here to -10, and the opacity to 1. Should be just change it to 1 like this. And we can also add another props right inside the visible. So in this case it's going to be called transition, and inside this transition also we can have another object. In this case I can say delay, about like 0.05 seconds, and that should do. Just some basic idea of how you're able to make use of frame of motions animation. So in this case, of course the variance has already been implemented right here. So in that way we are able to make use of this particular frame of motion in our website. So if you check our website, you'll be able to find this particular error. This particular error is because by default Next.js uses server-side rendering, which will not be suitable for frame of motion. So we need to make use of client-side server by default just for this particular page. So we can just go to our page right here in our code. Just should be calling use client at the top of the line, just by saying use client. This will eventually solve the issue, because we don't want Next.js to run server side first, because this particular project that we're using, which is Next.js 13, will be automatically running server side rendering first, which is not suitable for frame of motion, because frame of motion is actually kind of animation, so it has to be running the client sides first. So this is how we're able to make use of that. And there you go, we were able to implement that particular frame of motion as well. As you can see, when the page loads, this particular image also has some basic animation right here. And before that, let's check our responsiveness as well. As you can see right here, when I reduce the width of the screen, and of course I use this particular tool right here, as you can see right here, there's not much space has been given to the image. When I reduce the size of the image, as you can see right here, it's not actually very good looking, by the way. So we can just make some styling, and so that we're able to reduce the height, reduce the gap right here. And of course, as you can see, I can give some spacing at my both hand side right here. And of course and as you can see, the height of the screen is too big, and we can just add those styling properties to fix those issues that I've mentioned. Let's go to our code, and in our code right here, this is meant for medium size screens and above. So I like to have like medium size MD, and for mobile size screen I like to have another maximum height, and this maximum height should be lesser than the one that we have given earlier. So let's give around like 300 pixels. Let us see, and there you go, it does solve an issue a lot. And besides that, as you can see, there's a huge gap between this particular background and the foreground. So we can also add a different margin top that we have given earlier, which is right here. This case is 300, by the way. This should be only meant for medium sized screen. And let's give a different margin top value for mobile screen as well. So in this case, let's give around like 100. Let's check the browser, and there you go. As you can see right here, this actually still have some, not much gap has been given. We can actually give around like 150 pixels, and this will make it look like this, by the way. And there you go. And also I like to give some gap, some padding of x-axis for the background, so that I can have some spacing on my x-axis. So let us go to this particular image, the container right here, which we have did something like this. I like to have padding of x-axis. Just have to go to the most right hand side right here, and inside here I like to have px -4, and besides that you can also have for medium size screens we would like to have 0 px, because we don't just wanted it to be having only on mobile size screens. That's why I placed md. So when I go to our browser right here, we're able to find some gap has been placed on my right, both on my sides right here. And there you go. And let's actually reduce the height even more further. So you can see right here we are able to have, you can actually remove this particular gap right here. Or you just need to go to the height right here. You can actually reduce to around like 200. And there you go. This will be perfectly fine, would do. And the next thing is that I think, yeah, we have already completed the basic structure, and just need to be making sure to remove this particular long line of code right here, by the way, so that we're able to, we can actually improve the code right here. So that it will be better to be placed in our index, the styles file. And inside here we can just take you can just place this particular styling properties and just directly take it, place it inside globals.css right here. And in this case, right, our cart item quantity right here, I like to have hero section. So hero section, of course I'm going to be placing hero section first. And this is meant for the most top div right here. I like to copy this. Yeah, let's just like take this, whatever, I place it right here. And of course I'm going to be placing it inside the hero section. And of course, and not to forget, add apply. And this will eventually call the Tailwind CSS property. And just not forget, let's just copy this particular name of this particular class, which you have just placed it right here, and just place it back into our code right here. And let's do the same thing for the rest of the code as well. And for the second div right here, I like to have hero container. I like to call it hero container, and in which I like to have the second div's styling properties to be placed here. Just need to be placing it right here. And not to forget, just copy the name and place it inside the code. There you go. And this one we can just leave it as it is. And the next thing is that this particular image right here, so it's going to be called .hero airports. And in this case I have to do the same thing, just copy whatever I find it right here, just copy this and just place it inside here. Of course you need to be placing add apply, and just copy the name, paste the class names, copy the name of the class and paste it back into our code right here. And there you go, we have just completed the entire hero section. Let me just go back to our browser and let's give it a quick check right here. Let me just refresh the page